My mother-in-law deliberately fed my child something he's allergic to. When I stopped her, she threatened to quit babysitting and go back to her hometown, trying to force me to bow my head and apologize like before. But this time, I immediately drove her and her luggage straight to the high-speed rail station that very night. And even sent her off with a polite, "Have a safe journey." That day after work, the moment I stepped through the door, my 1-year-old son, Duong, staggered toward me, crying and saying he was itchy all over. I looked down and saw his body covered in red welts. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law sat on the sofa, calmly scrolling through short videos on her phone as if nothing had happened. Panicked, I asked, "Why is Duong covered in rashes? Did you give him eggs again?" Since he was little, my son had been allergic to eggs. Even a small bite made him break out in hives and itch until he cried. Hearing me, she kept her head down, tapping on her phone without even glancing up, and replied irritably, "It was just a tiny bit. I only mixed a little egg into the meat bun filling. If he doesn't eat eggs, where will he get nutrition? How will he grow?" I swallowed my anger. How many times have I told you? Duong is allergic to eggs. Mild cases mean rashes. Severe ones can be life-threatening. Ever since I found out, I've never let him eat eggs again. That's why he hasn't had a reaction lately. But ever since you came to watch him, no matter how many times I remind you, you won't listen. I say one thing, you argue 10. You never accept it. Just as expected, her face darkened. "You're young. You don't understand. When Kai was little, he was the same. He ate peanuts and got rashes. After eating them a few times, it went away. I'm his grandmother. You think I'd harm my own grandson?" In my arms, my son cried harder, scratching until he broke his skin. I looked at her stubborn face and said angrily, "How you raised Kai is your business. But my son is different. And by the way, Kai is still allergic to peanuts now. What exactly went away?" She stared at me. "Fine, if you say that, I won't babysit anymore. Find someone else. I'll pack and go back home right now." There it was again. Anytime I disagreed with her, she pulled the same trick, threatening to leave so I'd give in. This was already the 9th time since she'd come to help with the baby. My husband and I had fallen in love in college. After graduation we both stayed in this city, married naturally, and later had Duong, who was almost 2 now. My mother passed away early, so she couldn't help me with childcare. The responsibility fell to my mother-in-law, and she knew perfectly well that this was my weakness. I had no family on my side to help. If I displeased her even slightly, she'd threaten to stop watching the baby and go home. Honestly, the first time she threatened that, I panicked. Heaven knows, back then all I did was remind her not to overdress the baby. She burst into tears, accused me of disrespecting her, packed her bags, and declared she'd leave that very night. I'd never seen anything like it. My husband and I were both office workers with busy jobs. If she left, who would take care of the child? In the end I had no choice but to bow my head and apologize. Only then did she calm down and stay. After that, I never dared comment on how many layers she put on him. She dressed him however she liked, and I pretended not to see. What else could I do? I thought it was just a rare outburst. I didn't expect that once there's a first time, there's always a second. She began constantly testing my limits. Whatever I said went in one ear and out the other. Sometimes she deliberately did the opposite, as if just to defy me. For example, I said babies under 1-year-old don't need salt. She curled her lip. No salt? Where will he get strength? All this nonsense reasoning. Then she secretly added salt to his food when he was only 6 months old. I warned her not to give him jelly with beads because it's a choking hazard. She rolled her eyes. Kai ate that when he was little and he grew up just fine. You young mothers are so fussy. If you expect me to babysit and follow all these complicated rules, then find someone else. There it was again. Every time I objected, she cried and threatened to leave. And every time, I gave in. The more I gave in, the more outrageous she became. Caring for my child according to her own will and ignoring everything I said. Just the allergy issue alone, since she came to help, my son had reactions at least 5 or 6 times. Maybe even 10. Each time I spoke up, she repeated the same worn-out lines. Why is he so weak? It's all nutritious food. If he eats it more, he'll get used to it. And I truly was foolish back then. Young, inexperienced, prideful, and reluctant to spend money on a nanny. I also loved my husband and didn't want him stuck between his mother and his wife. So again and again I tolerated it, lowering myself, Looking back now, it's ridiculous. If no one can watch the child, hire someone. If there's no money, then let my husband earn more. Why should I bow to a domineering old woman who kept putting my child in danger? I thought I was enduring it for my son. But really I was just weak. Unable to protect my own child. Of course, that realization only came later. This time, when she used her usual threat again, I wasn't planning to endure it anymore. First I took my son to the hospital. The whole way there he kept scratching and sobbing. When we arrived, the doctor gave him an injection and scolded sternly. What kind of parents are you? Allergies can be fatal. A few days ago a child had trouble breathing and had to be intubated. Almost didn't make it. After everything was settled and I carried my son home, it was already past 8 at night. As soon as I stepped inside, I heard my mother-in-law on the phone with relatives. I work so hard watching this child and still get criticized. Just wait. If she doesn't bow her head and apologize this time, I definitely won't watch him anymore. Kids nowadays are treated like treasures. Every little illness is exaggerated. Back in our day raising children wasn't like this. I've spoiled her too much. Now she dares point fingers at me. If I don't teach her a lesson this time, I don't have the surname Vong. The voice on the other end tried to persuade her. Come on, just endure a little for peace in the family. What if she really won't let you watch the child anymore? She snorted. If I don't watch him, who will? Her mother's been dead for years. Without me, where will she find someone? Just wait. When she comes back, I'll threaten to pack and leave again. Doesn't she always behave after that? I'm telling you, young daughters-in-law nowadays need someone like me to keep them in line. Your son's getting married soon, right? Listen to me. I guarantee I can hold the reins. Expressionless, I pushed the door open. Hearing it, she quickly hung up and straightened her posture on the sofa like some empress dowager. Beside her sat a packed suitcase. Seeing me carrying the baby, she didn't ask about him at all. Instead she snapped, "This child, I can't watch him anymore. I have to go back home." A grandmother watching her grandchild is kindness, not obligation. If you're not satisfied, find someone else. She lifted her chin coldly, clearly waiting for me to back down like always. But I didn't respond. I laid my sleeping son on the bed, grabbed her suitcase, and walked straight to the door. Her eyes twitched as she jumped up. What are you doing? Why are you touching my things? I'm telling you, don't you dare stop me. I cut her off calmly. I'm taking you to the station. You can still catch the last train. She froze. The station? Right now? The last train? She hesitated a few seconds, then stiffened. It's so late, what bus would even go back to the village? Are you planning to make me sleep at the station overnight? I replied coolly. Don't worry, I've already asked someone to pick you up at the other end. I'll send you the phone number. Call them when you arrive. She was stunned. Now she understood I wasn't bluffing. After a long moment she muttered awkwardly. Well, that's wonderful. Finally I'm free. No more babysitting. Thank heavens. I didn't argue. I simply called my husband and told him to come home immediately. Then I picked up her luggage, drove 80 kilometers per hour, and took her to the station. Standing at the entrance, I said gently, travel safely, have a smooth journey, call when you arrive. Without waiting for her reaction, I turned and walked away. Behind me, her face had turned green with fury. I hadn't gone far from the station when my phone rang. It was Kai. Honey, where's Mom? I came home and didn't see anyone. Where did you two go? Holding the steering wheel, I looked at the station shrinking in the rearview mirror. Your mom? I took her to the station. She said she wanted to go back home, so I sent her off. Silence hung on the line for a few seconds before his voice burst out anxiously. Why did Mom go back? Did you make her mad again? Something this big and you didn't discuss it with me? If she's gone, who's going to watch Duong Duong? Come on, can't you just apologize to her and be done with it? The anger I'd just suppressed flared again. Apologize? For what? Did I electrocute someone or set something on fire that I should apologize? Your mother secretly fed our son eggs. He broke out in rashes all over, scratching until his skin tore. The doctor said severe cases can be fatal. She even called relatives bragging that I don't have a mother so I'm easy to bully. That after a few scares I'll behave. If you'd heard that, would you still tell me to apologize? He went silent, then stammered, but, if there's no one to watch the baby, what do we do? I said coldly, then we hire someone. He sounded alarmed. That's expensive. A nanny costs at least 5 or 6,000 a month. He kept rambling, but I cut him off. Instead of nagging me like this, Why don't you figure out how to earn more money? He fell completely silent. I turned the car around and drove home from the station. My husband was sitting on the sofa calling his mother. Her voice blared through the speaker. Sharp and grating. Son, it's not that I don't want to watch my grandson. It's that unfilial wife of yours. Children only get a little allergy at worst. I'm old. I forgot he couldn't eat that and put in just a bit. And she made a huge scene. I'm telling you, if you don't discipline her this time, I swear I won't come back. A girl raised without a mother has no manners. Daring to be rude to an elder like me. Seeing me walk in, my husband hurriedly cut her off. All right, Mom, don't be mad. Just rest a few days and I'll come pick you up. She snapped instantly. No need. I said I'm not going back. And I mean it. People of the Vaughn family have backbone. My husband glanced at me, seeing my expression cold as ice. He fumbled a few soothing words and hung up. I looked straight at him and said clearly, word by word, Kai, I'll say this one last time. From now on, your mother is not allowed to step into this house again. His face darkened. Come on, she didn't do it on purpose. Why make it so serious? Kids just get a little allergy. That's all. Don't raise a boy like a porcelain doll. Listen to me. In a few days when she calms down, I'll bring her back. You should apologize to her too. We're family. We'll still need her to watch Duong Duong later. I let out a cold laugh. Apologize? I'd rather die than apologize. I've already hired a nanny. His expression changed instantly. How can a nanny be more reassuring than his own grandmother? Don't make trouble. It's just a little allergy. You're worrying too much. I said nothing more. I stood up and went to the kitchen to cook. He thought I'd given in. His face turned smug, and he hurriedly called his mother again. Mom, I already scolded her. Don't be mad. Buy yourself a boxed meal on the train. Don't be stingy. When you come back, I'll definitely make her apologize properly. A while later dinner was ready. My husband ate heartily, but before long he started fidgeting. Unable to sit still, scratching over and over as if ants were crawling all over him. I lowered my eyes slightly, pretending not to notice. He muttered, weird, why am I so itchy? I'll go take a shower. Moments later, Tran Trui ran out of the bathroom naked, panic written all over his face. Honey, what's going on? Why is this happening? His body was covered in red welts. Am I having an allergic reaction? He scratched while groaning. The more he scratched, the worse it itched. I slapped my forehead as if suddenly realizing. Oh, I forgot you're allergic to peanuts too. I used peanut oil to stir-fry the vegetables just now. He froze. Peanut oil? He was allergic. How could he possibly tolerate that? He scratched until his skin broke and shouted. Lam Kiat, you did that on purpose. Didn't you? I answered calmly. Yes, I did. So what? Didn't you say men having allergies is no big deal? Oh come on, don't make that face. It's just a little itch. You're a man, don't be so weak. His face turned purple with anger. But he had no argument. Because he knew he was in the wrong. That night he tossed and turned, scratching all night long, while I held my son and slept deeply and peacefully. After that, he kept completely silent and didn't dare say another word. The agency sent a nanny that very afternoon. She was about 50, neat and tidy, with a gentle face. I carefully explained everything she needed to pay attention to when caring for the child. She remembered it all after hearing it once. After 2 days of adjustment, everything fell into place. She took meticulous care of him. My son was clean, healthy, cheerful, and smiling more than before. There were no more scenes of my mother-in-law stirring up trouble or throwing tantrums. I felt lighter inside, and I became more patient with my child. The atmosphere at home gradually turned warm and comfortable. I even blamed myself for not hiring a nanny earlier. If I had, I wouldn't have endured so many threats from my mother-in-law. But on her side, she wasn't willing to stay quiet. At first my husband hid the fact that we'd hired a nanny. Every time he video called her, he deliberately chose moments when the nanny wasn't around. Her tone on the phone was still as arrogant as ever. Son, the house must be in chaos these days without anyone watching the child. Right? I'm not trying to make things hard. It's just your wife is too much. But remember, don't call me back. I absolutely won't return. My husband mumbled vague responses and changed the subject, not echoing her words. She wasn't satisfied. In her mind, our household must be in total disorder by now, the child dirty. The house a mess. My husband bending over backward begging her to come back. She imagined that when that moment came, She'd assert her authority and make us kneel to admit our mistakes to prove we respected our elders. Yet she hinted again and again. Even gave my husband chances to plead. And he still never said a word asking her to return. This was completely different from what she'd imagined. It never even crossed her mind that we'd spend money to hire a nanny. Because she was convinced we'd never be willing to waste that expense. She comforted herself. The time just wasn't long enough yet. We hadn't suffered enough. If she waited patiently, sooner or later we'd give in and beg her. The more she thought about it, the more pleased she felt. Fine, she'd wait. When we finally surrendered, she'd deal with us properly. That day, the home security app notified me someone had passed the gate of the old house. It sounded strange. There were cameras in the countryside? Actually, yes, when my mother-in-law came to the city to help with the baby. My father-in-law was left living alone. So I installed a camera at the front gate for safety. I opened the feed. Sure enough, she was outside chatting idly with several neighborhood women, the village's famous gossip experts. The kind who could turn a small matter into sensational news across the whole area. One woman smacked her lips. Mrs. Vong, honestly, your son Tri is really capable, educated and filial. Just look at that gold bracelet on your wrist. Gold's so expensive these days, that must cost tens of millions. Right? My mother-in-law beamed. That's right, my son is very filial. Watching that scene, I felt only coldness in my heart. Obviously I was the one who bought that bracelet. Back then my husband even complained it was too expensive and said a cheap necklace would be enough. I was the one who, thinking we needed her help with childcare, gritted my teeth and used several months of salary to buy it for her. But she not only felt no gratitude, she claimed it as her son's gift. No need to ask. If anyone asked, she'd say her son bought it. The neighboring women immediately showered her with praise. One asked, Sister Vong, how many days are you staying in the village this time? She froze briefly, then forced a smile. Just a few days. My son was worried I'd be tired. So he insisted I come back and rest. They all chorused admiration. Still, your son is filial, knows how to care for you. Watching a grandchild is exhausting. Right then I turned on the speaker through the camera and said clearly, Mom, you left 2 outfits here. I'll pack and mail them to you later. Remember to receive them. The women exchanged looks. Wait, didn't you say you'd go back in a few days? It's only been a few days, why send clothes? Could it be your daughter-in-law won't let you return? My mother-in-law hurriedly said, No need, just leave them there. I cut in at once. No one will wear them anyway. You won't be coming back. So if I don't send them I'll just throw them in the trash. The neighbors' eyes lit up. They'd clearly caught the scent of juicy gossip. My mother-in-law trembled with anger. Do whatever you want. Throw them out if you like. I replied calmly, Sure, just letting you know in advance. Her face turned green, while curious stares fixed on her. One neighbor pretended innocence and asked loudly, Daughter-in-law, why won't you let your mother-in-law come back to watch the child? You two work so much, can you manage? My mother-in-law hurried to interrupt. She took long leave. She can watch the child herself. She thought I'd save face for her in front of outsiders. But I had no reason to hold back anymore. I said loudly, You don't know the situation. My mother-in-law clearly knows my son is allergic. Yet she secretly fed him that food every day. He almost had to be hospitalized. I said a few words of advice. And she got angry and refused to watch him anymore. I'm just a daughter-in-law. So I let her go back and enjoy her old age. The group nodded. Right. Rest well. We're still exhausted raising our grandkids. We envy you. My mother-in-law's face went pale. She knew that once these women dispersed, the rumor would spread through the whole village. Mrs. Vong got driven back by her daughter-in-law. That arrogant woman who always bragged about her son working in the city, now she'd really lost face. She was even threatened with having her clothes thrown in the trash. How embarrassing. She used to mock others for only having granddaughters. And now look, her daughter-in-law wouldn't even let her raise her own grandson. After a lifetime of acting domineering in the village, how could she endure being mocked behind her back? I heard that for several days she couldn't eat and even avoided going outside. Unable to bear the gossip, she called my husband crying. Son, your wife is deliberately humiliating me. The whole village is laughing at me. How can I go on living? My husband could only murmur a few soothing words. But she suddenly shouted, I know she's using this trick to force me to go back. HMPH. I won't fall for it. I'm not someone who can be scared into submission. Don't waste your breath persuading me. My husband's expression was indescribable. She, meanwhile, waited eagerly for me to give in. But what she didn't know was that my life on this side had never been more comfortable. The nanny was obedient and efficient. No arguing, no pretending compliance while secretly resisting. I felt like I could finally breathe. I thought peaceful days like that would continue. Who would have guessed that one day she video called my husband and happened to see the nanny returning from the park with our son. She immediately shrieked, "Son, why is there a stranger in the house?" My husband stammered before admitting it was a nanny we hired to care for the child. Her expression changed instantly. She'd been convinced I would eventually bow my head and apologize. Instead, we'd hired an outsider. She flew into a rage. "You young people really don't know how to live. Hiring someone costs so much and it's dangerous. Haven't you heard all those stories about nannies abusing children?" My husband tried to soothe her. "Mom, forget it, just rest at home." She panicked. "Fire that woman immediately so I can come back and watch my grandson." Now she didn't even bother saving face. My husband glanced at me cautiously. "Maybe, honey?" I cut in coldly. "Don't even dream about it. This isn't an inn where you can come and go whenever you want. Stop thinking about it." My husband shut his mouth, leaving his mother screaming on the other end of the line. Seeing how firm I was, my mother-in-law started calling my husband dozens of times a day. She went from screaming insults to playing the moral high ground. My husband sighed and pleaded, "Honey, Mom keeps calling me non-stop. Dad's been drunk again. A few days ago he even hit her so hard her face swelled." Yelling that she embarrassed him in front of the neighbors by not watching the grandson. In truth, my father-in-law had no abilities whatsoever. Only a drinking problem. Whenever he got drunk, he'd lose his temper and beat his wife. When I first married into the family, I saw with my own eyes my mother-in-law's bruised face after he hit her. It scared me so badly it left a shadow in my mind. Out of pity, I thought bringing her to the city would both help me with childcare and let her escape domestic violence. I never imagined my kindness would turn into raising a viper in my sleeve. Someone pitiful can still be hateful. Used to being oppressed by her husband, she came to my house wanting to oppress me instead. Just as I predicted, my husband treated my words like wind in his ears. After she cried miserably again, he secretly brought her back. That day, the moment I walked in, I saw her luggage sitting squarely in the middle of the living room. The nanny was flustered, packing her things. My mother-in-law's tongue was as vicious as ever. "You shameless woman, daring to occupy my nest. This is my house. Get out right now." Then she turned and called to my son. "Sweetheart, come here. Grandma is your real family." My son didn't even look at her. He clung tightly to the nanny's leg, avoiding her gaze. Losing face, she started cursing loudly. "There's something wrong with his brain. Just like his stupid mother. What blood of the Tran family? He's all like that wretched woman." My husband rushed over to comfort her. She immediately plopped onto the floor, slapped her thighs, and wailed, "I'm old and being despised. Son, hurry and throw her out for me." My husband turned to the nanny. "Please pack up and go." I cut in coldly. "Who dares?" The air froze instantly. My mother-in-law shot me a glance and snorted. In the past, whenever she put on this Empress Dowager act, my husband and I would rush to soothe her. But this time I stood silent, watching her wait in vain. When she realized I wasn't the same as before, her face darkened. My husband lowered his voice. "Honey, Mom's already back. Let's just live peacefully together. Let the nanny go. Think how much money we'll save." She immediately chimed in. "Exactly. You really don't know how to plan ahead." I nodded. "Fine." My husband exhaled in relief. My mother-in-law's face lit up with delight, her eyes smug as if saying, "See? I can still control you." She ordered, "Son, call and order braised chicken. I've been craving it for ages." "Yes, Mom, rest. I'll go buy it right away." While the two of them were giddy with satisfaction, the nanny looked at me and quietly pulled her suitcase. My son burst into tears and hugged her leg, refusing to let go. My mother-in-law snapped, "What are you crying for? Grandma's here. What's there to cry about?" He cried even louder. Furious, she raised her hand to hit him. I grabbed the tissue box from the table and hurled it straight at her face. Blood immediately trickled from her nose. She froze. My husband stood stunned too. I shouted, "You vicious old woman, just try touching my son. Believe it or not, you won't walk out of this door today." Both she and my husband were so shocked they didn't dare argue. I continued, "If you want to stay here, you follow my rules." She glared furiously. But my husband hurried to coax her. Mom, listen, don't make trouble. She nodded reluctantly. I escorted the nanny to the door and paid her an extra month's salary as thanks. She smiled with satisfaction, while I was already ready to roll up my sleeves and deal with both the old woman and her filial son. Want to come back? Fine, then we'll see. After seeing the nanny off, I returned inside. My mother-in-law snorted when she saw me, swayed her hips, and went into the room. I smiled faintly. Apparently she still didn't understand who held the winning cards in this house now. Before, I needed her help, so I endured, but now her own son needed to beg me. Since the story was already out on YouTube, why should I keep indulging her? From now on, I make the rules in this house. Sure enough, the very next day she started acting controlling again, forcing my son to eat cilantro. He clamped his mouth shut and refused to swallow. She snapped, "If you're picky, how will you grow? You must finish it today." He shook his head stubbornly. She shoved a spoon into his mouth. He cried loudly. I said nothing and walked out. A while later I came back carrying a durian. I set it right in front of her and smiled. "Mom, have some durian." She instantly looked nauseated. "Don't you know I hate that thing the most? Take it away." "I won't eat it." I smiled slightly, picked up a chunk, grabbed the back of her head, and stuffed it straight into her mouth. "Mom, durian's very nutritious. Being picky isn't good." She struggled to dodge, but old strength couldn't match young strength. I shoved the whole piece into her mouth, smearing it across her face. She choked until tears streamed down, then clutched her stomach and ran to the bathroom to vomit violently. Was that enough? I grabbed another piece and carried it into the bathroom. My husband stood there wide-eyed, not daring to say a word. That day she vomited miserably from morning to night, and after that she never dared force my son to eat anything he disliked again. But someone used to being domineering wouldn't accept losing control so easily. She began to counterattack. When my son got sick, I stayed up several nights straight caring for him and was exhausted. One afternoon I finally dozed off holding him. She deliberately turned her phone speaker on and played TikTok videos at full volume. The pounding music shook the whole room. My son startled awake crying. I couldn't sleep either. When I reminded her to lower the volume, she retorted, "Old people have bad hearing. If it's not loud, how can I hear? Sleeping in broad daylight, how lazy." I said nothing. The next day I borrowed a square dancing speaker set from some neighborhood ladies, bringing fruit as thanks. Late that night while she slept soundly, I placed the speaker right inside her room and blasted it at full volume. The piercing music exploded like firecrackers, jolting her awake in a cold sweat. Seeing me, she went mad with anger. "Are you trying to scare me to death? How can you be so vicious?" I shrugged. "If the baby cries and I can't sleep, then nobody gets peaceful sleep. The whole family should share hardship." The speaker played all night. The next morning her eyes were swollen. After that she never dared use speaker mode again. After being taught twice, she changed tactics and started acting pitiful. One day when my husband came home from work, he saw her crying. After asking repeatedly, he finally heard her story. Minutes later he stormed into the room. "Lam Kiat, arguments are one thing, but how could you hit Mom?" I raised an eyebrow. "You're sure I hit her?" She walked out, her face clearly marked with a handprint, sobbing loudly. "Lam Kiat, Mom was wrong. I'll kneel and beg your forgiveness." "All right." My husband glared at me. I said coldly, "Are you certain that Mark was from me?" Her eyes flickered away guiltily. I stood up, went to the kitchen, and took out a rolling pin. My husband still asked foolishly, "What are you taking that for? Don't tell me you want to hit Mom in front of me?" I gave a faint smile and swung it straight at him. He covered his head. I struck his stomach. He clutched his stomach. I struck his shoulder. I'm a northern girl. I hit hard. He was like a little chick. I didn't stop. I swept everything off the tables, smashing things loudly. Then I said through clenched teeth, "Tran Kai, open your eyes and look. If I really hit someone, it looks like this. Understand?" Seeing me beat her son, my mother-in-law rushed up to hit me. I kicked straight out. She fell flat on the floor. "Old woman, this is what hitting looks like. Clear now?" She rolled on the ground groaning, not daring to utter a sound. From that day on, my position in the house was rock solid. Both my husband and mother-in-law became as obedient as quails. If I said go east, no one dared step west. When she spoke to me, she forced out flattering smiles. Because that day when I exploded, she would never forget it. Sometimes when I think back, I even feel regret. If I'd been tough earlier, Why would I have needed to endure so many years? Locking myself inside that cage of respect elders, love the young, only made me sick. Breaking that shackle felt indescribably liberating. One day at the gate of our apartment complex, I saw a young mother pushing a stroller, looking worn down and crying. When I asked, she said she'd married far from home and was bullied by both her husband and mother-in-law. She sobbed out story after story. Her husband didn't cherish her. Her mother-in-law nitpicked everything. I just smiled. Then fight. If you win, you're in charge. If you lose, change houses. What's there to fear? She froze. Then her eyes lit up, the light of a door suddenly opening before her. Good luck. That's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to China Story Tales, and stay tuned for more stories.